What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Now, today on the table in front of us is another in my selection of budget knives. I actually gave this one to Women Carry Knives a while back, but we were going through our collections for Blade Show West, and I realized that I had never done a review on this, and that I think it's a really sort of interesting piece. So I went ahead and grabbed it out. This is the CRKT Ruger LCK, and it is... well, it's really an interesting knife. Ruger and CRKT got together a while back and made a series of Ruger-related knives. This is the LCK. It is sort of supposed to be the companion to their snub-nosed pistol, the LCR. I don't know. I think this is a cool little knife. I love the shape of this thing. It is a lurch design, which is really evident in this super stabby and pointy blade. It has really nice texture on the scales. It has a nice deep carry clip, which is very deep carry. It is an attractive design. It has good action, very snappy and quick. You know, 29 bucks right now on Amazon, you get a pretty good knife. Now, it is, I think I mentioned this already, 8CR13 MOV. Now look. That is a steel that appeared a while back, and everyone fell in love with it because of its really, really good rust resistance. It is very, very stainless steel. And then people immediately fell out of love with it because, one, the knife community is very fickle, and two, it doesn't hold an edge particularly well as compared to other steels. It's just not bad, you know? It's a good steel for what it is. I think in the $29 range, 8CR13 MOV is fine. I think for most people in most applications, likely including my own, 8CR13 MOV would probably last me a lifetime. I'm not that hard on my knives. But of course, as a knife collector, I like fancier steels. But that shouldn't take away from the coolness that is this knife. I showed you that action. I want to do it again. This is very good. It is very snappy. It is a good size. It has that nice sort of rectangular handle, so it fits my hand, even this big meat hook that is mine, very well. It does have a forward choil, which is a little small for me. It's too big to be a sharpening choil and a little too small for a full-size finger, although if you pull back a little bit, you can get in there just fine. It is hollow ground, which makes this very nice and slicey behind the edge, which is a nice touch. It has a very, very stabby tip, which, there we go. Yep. Which makes this a really good gas station fighter in a pinch. And I'll tell you, that is one slicey, stabby knife. I carried this thing for quite a while when I first got it. This was early in my cut of collecting and before my collection exploded the way that it has. There is no blade play. There is no lock rock. We are at about 50% right there. But this thing has seen a fair amount of pocket time. It has good detent. It has a G10 backspacer, steel liners that are not milled out, but it is a small enough knife that really doesn't make a difference. It's not that heavy. Let's get some dimensions, and then we'll do some comparisons. It is just under 3 inches of cutting surface and just under 4 inches of overall blade length, which is really very nice. 1, 2, 3, well, hold on. 1, 2, 3, yes. Oh, 3.5 inches, excuse me, of overall blade length and just under 3 inches of cutting. You know, that's plenty of blade for most applications. And as I mentioned, this thing is hollow ground, so it cuts very well. It is very, very light in the pocket because of its overall dimensions and size. I love this thing. Do I wish they'd make a premium version? Well, of course I do. I'm a knife snob. I don't know when that happened, but it's kind of true. But look, budget knives are for everyone. That's the whole point of them. At $29, this is a toss-it-in-the-pocket-and-forget-it knife for many people. It is a standout knife for people that have been buying $10 or $15 knives at, you know, gas stations. This thing would absolutely be a joy. It is well made. It has got a nice cutout here so you can access the lock very easily. It is, as I mentioned, very smooth and very snappy. I think this is a great little knife. The overall knife is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5 inches long. If we do a size comparison against our enormous friend here, the Rat Model 1, you will see that, of course, it is a much smaller knife. But again, because of the way they've done the blade on the Rat, considering how much smaller the LCK is, you're really only getting about a 1/4 inch less blade cutting surface. This is a strange knife in that regard. Let's take a look at it against its smaller companion here. Now this is a much more apt comparison. This is the Rat Model 2, and these are very similar in size, but of course you get a little more blade on the LCK. The difference is, of course, is that the Rat Model 2 is a little heavier, and the AUS-8 steel and the 8CR13 MOV are fairly comparable, although my experience with CRKT's 8CR13 MOV is that they hold an edge better than AUS-8, particularly for like normal everyday use. You also get a considerably thicker blade stock in the LCK, which is nice. I don't know. These are very competitive knives. I think it would much come down to style, honestly. And I think for me, if you've got bigger hands, this sort of straightforward rectangular handle is more comfortable than this pre-shaped handle, which forces my hand pretty far back from the blade. What else can we compare this against? Well, I think its most obvious competitor is probably one of the Ganzos. What do I have on the table? Oh, I know what I have on the table. It's not a Ganzo. Let's put it up against the Rake P108. These are very similar in design aesthetic. That would be up to you to choose. Of course, the difference is this is all steel. Of course, it has a slightly better blade steel too in the 14C28N, excuse me. But these are very comparable in sort of overall shape, but this one is much lighter. It is a much easier carry, and you know, not everybody wants a weighty knife dragging their pockets down. I'm going to say it again. I love how stabby this thing is. I really do. So why am I talking about these knives? Well, as I said in the beginning, it's fun to talk about expensive knives. It's fun to have them in the collection. It's also important not to forget that for most people, 30 or 40 bucks for a knife is it. That's where they're going to start and where they're going to stop. For a while, when I was younger, and not that long ago, this made up the bulk of my collection. I just liked sharp, stabby things a lot. Before I was super invested in premium materials and premium blade steels and makers and designers and all of that stuff, I just wanted a good pocket knife. And the budget knives that I've shown you so far, and this is one of them, are just that, just a very good pocket knife at a price point that most people are willing to afford. You can have this in 2 days for 29 bucks and some change off of Amazon right now. And I would recommend it, well, powerfully. Now, I have budget knives that I like better in the same price range, but this is a choice. It's an option, and I think it's one that's really worth looking at. If you are looking for a good, inexpensive, stabby pocket knife for someone with good sized hands, but particularly someone with a smaller grip, the Ruger LCK is a fantastic option just for that. And again, at the price, if you give it to somebody who's new to knives and they screw it up, you can get them another one without it being a really big deal. I think that's important. I really do. And I think that people that aren't that into knives, or even people that are sort of into knives, would really enjoy having this in their collection. I know I did. And I know Women Carry Knives loves it. She loves the Lurch design blades, actually. Again, she likes things that are very stabby, which doesn't threaten me at all. So there it is. This is the Ruger LCK. It is a Lurch design. It is 8CR13 MOV. It is a liner lock. It has a great pocket clip. It has good ergonomics, a beautiful blade. It is very light and small in the pocket. I think that this is a win all the way around. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's made you think a little bit about how much you're willing to spend on a knife and how we feel about how much we do spend on knives. If you're interested, of course, this is on Amazon. Feel free to go take a look. If you have any questions about this or any of the knives you've seen on my channel, feel free to ask in the comments below. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I'd love to have you here on a regular basis. Feel free to like the video on the way out. We'll see you next time.